Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk about my American Express British Airways card. What benefits I get from it, and is it actually worth getting one? Let's go. So, the American Express AMEX card. Here's mine, with the details very crudely coloured in. Is it worth getting one? Well, let's have a look at that. So, it's currently the credit card that I am using. One of the reasons I got this is because, like other credit cards as well, this isn't just specific to the American Express card. You can get a supplementary card, which I can give to my partner, so my fiance can go and spend on that card, and it all pulls together in one account, which we split at the end of the month. But it also means that all of the points and reward points are building up in one pot. The second and most important reason that I got this card is for those reward points. The reason being is that you can use these points once you get to a certain amount to spend with British Airways on flights, hotels, car hire, effectively anything that you would buy or book through British Airways. You can use these points against that rather than actual money. But does that mean it's necessarily worth having one? Well, let's have a look at that. In my case, I've just come back from Venice, where I went with my fiance. We went for 4 nights, and I used most of my points towards this trip. In fact, the actual amount of points I used was 25,500 points. That went on a deal that British Airways had on at the time, which basically booked my return flight tickets, so out there and back, as well as having a companion voucher, which I'll explain shortly, which covered the flight costs for my partner as well. The companion voucher is quite an important element to this, in that it provides you a second set of tickets for someone else, so in my case it's going to be my partner, which means that you can get a free set of flights for 2 people to wherever you decide to book, as long as you have enough points to cover the cost of those flights. So how much did these cost? Well, Venice was on a deal at the time that I booked it. It was 25,500 points. To get to this over the year, I had 2 lots of referral bonus. So whenever you refer someone to a card, or you get referred to a card and you sign up and you hit the minimum criteria, you get 5,000 points, both for the person who referred you and the person who was referred. So that came to 10,000 points. After this, in the prior year, we'd also been to Greece on holiday. Now, in the British Airways app, you can use affiliate links. So if you book through their app, they will give you multipliers on the amount of money that you spend. So we spent around £1,100 on our flights and accommodation to Greece. This was then times by 8 because we used the affiliate link. So that gave us 8,800 points towards a holiday or whatever we wanted to book, which in this case was Venice. For this particular trip, that left 6,700 points remaining, which we just used on like general spending, so food, fuel, effectively anything that we buy on a monthly basis we would put onto the credit card, pay off in that month, which is super important. You need to remember that point. You need to be paying off the balance in full every month to ensure that you do not get any interest charged on this card, because the rates are extremely high on American Express, and effectively if you get charged any interest, it negates any points that you're going to earn. So that's a really crucial point to remember with this. So that's how I got to the 25,500 points. Once you earn 15,000 points, you are eligible for the companion voucher. This does come with a caveat that it has to be used, I believe, within 12 months of the date that you become eligible for the companion voucher. So it kind of makes you have to spend it on a trip within that 12 months. So that's another important thing to remember, that if you're looking at this to get a free holiday, I wouldn't, because it kind of forces you into spending when you might not necessarily be at the right time to spend in your life. If, however, you're looking to go on a trip or you go on regular trips every year, then this might be a nice way to get a bit of money off of your trip or the cost of your trip. And finally, how much did this free holiday that you're supposedly meant to be able to get through British Airways actually cost me? Well, in this instance, going to Venice, the flights for two of us would have cost us around £712 return. These were completely free, and that's really where the saving kind of ends. The reason being is that British Airways will promote holidays or flights that probably aren't being used as much. So Venice at this time of year is very, very hot, and it was extremely hot. I mean, we got over it, but one to consider is that at the point you're booking, you usually get discounts or your points go further on a trip that is on promotion, which for us wasn't a problem because we've always wanted to go to Venice. But if you're within that 12-month window and nothing comes up that you're necessarily keen to go on, you might have to forfeit your companion voucher or go to somewhere that you weren't necessarily planning to go in the first place. The hotel, this would have cost us £950, but I used the remaining amount of points against the cost of this, so I think it only brought down about £90, so it brought it down to around £850 rather than £950, so about £100 saving. So that's one to consider, is that if you're not utilising all of the additional bonuses, if you're not booking the right trip at the right time, the points actually don't go very far on just regular items. But for us, we know that we're only going to use this card for a year. We're probably going to cut it up in a month or so, switch to a new credit card because we've maximised our referral bonuses for the year. We'll probably look to use something else going forwards. The shuttle, when we landed, was €30. We did a number of different activities. I won't cover these in this video. I'll probably do a full Venice review on whether it's worth going there or not in my next video. But for the purpose of this one, that cost an additional €300. On the return leg of the journey, we decided that we get a shuttle taxi, so a private taxi back to the airport. That was because when we got there, we didn't realise how far it is to walk through Venice, and it is only walking if you don't get a boat. So that took us about 40 minutes, and it was scorching hot with suitcases. The missus wasn't particularly happy with that one, so we splashed out. We got a private shuttle straight from our hotel to the airport, which was €150. And if you're going to Venice in the heat in the summer months, absolutely worth every penny. And finally, food for the trip, that came to around €450, €500 we probably spent on dinners, snacks and breakfast, because we didn't get breakfast included, because we wanted to kind of see different areas throughout the day. So we thought, let's not confine ourselves to one location, let's go and have a look at all the different spots. I say that, I mean, I actually forgot to book the breakfast, but that's what I'm telling the missus anyway. So in total, the trip would have cost us around £2,500. We saved around £700 on the flights. So that then means that the total cost of the trip was around £1,750, £1,800, which is a relatively decent saving. So in short, if you're looking at the AMEX card, especially the British Airways one, to get you a free holiday, it definitely isn't going to do that for the average person. I've heard stories, I've read about people that are able to maximise these cards and they've got spreadsheets and things like that. I am not one of those people. I doubt for a lot of people you are either. And the pitfalls of missing a payment or not switching at the right time, for me, outweigh having a card like this and trying to maximise it. I feel like I'll probably make a mistake somewhere and end up paying ridiculous interest or something like that. In my opinion, I think that if you're in the period of life where you've got a mortgage, you're paying down on your mortgage, you've cleared your debts, you're starting to go on more trips regularly, the British Airways AMEX card is definitely a good way to get some money off of a holiday and maybe even introduce you to places that you wouldn't necessarily consider because, like I mentioned before, they are on a deal. But if you are in that period of your life where you're saving or you haven't got as much disposable income, I probably wouldn't say to get this. The reason being is that even though it can save you money, it forces you to take a trip when you might not necessarily want to take one, to ensure that you're utilising the points and utilising the companion voucher. And that in of itself could mean that you end up putting more on a credit card for that trip that you can necessarily pay off. And then we fall into that slippery slope of carrying balances on credit cards and personal loans and all that sort of horrible things that end up trapping you in a debt cycle, which I really, really don't want for people that are watching this channel. So if you're in the first camp, absolutely go for it. Make sure you're paying off that balance every month and enjoy your trip. If not, then maybe this is just one to consider for future you. You know, maybe in a couple of years, once you're set, you've got a bit more savings, you've got that nice buffer. Absolutely, go and spend. Make sure obviously you're spending sensibly, build up those points and enjoy your trip. And that's it, a really short video just covering the card. In my next video, I'll run through a more detailed list of the Venice costs if you're interested, and whether going to Venice is actually worth it and worth the money. But for now, thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, and I'll see you all on the next one. Goodbye.